Here on the stand with Vocus today, and we're going to discuss communications networks and their involvement with defence. And I'm going to start things off with Ryan Scott. Ryan, welcome to the show.
Thanks very much, appreciate it. It's good to be here.
So Ryan, could you please tell us about where Vocus operates and the network capabilities you offer?
So Vocus is a sovereign in-depth fibre provider in country. We have nearly 30,000 kilometres of fibre network in Australia. We provide that to close to 90% of defence facilities in country at the moment.
That's a pretty big collection right there.
Yeah, it's not many people probably know this fact, but it's the second largest fibre network in the country.
So you mentioned defence in there, so who are some of your defence customers specifically, and what do you see their future needs as?
Yeah, it's a good question. We operate in probably two spheres of defence, the first being federal defence directly as a direct prime provider to defence themselves. The three forces, obviously Navy, Army and Air Force, but we also operate in defence industries, so the defence primes like your BAEs, your Raytheons and Lockheeds.
And where do you see their future needs? You've got quite a network, lots of fibre now. How do you see the expansion required to support what is becoming a very data-rich environment?
Yeah, so obviously with the advent of AI, and that's something that defence are taking up, obviously, like most other businesses are, but what we're seeing is the advent of LEO satellite has come obviously off the back of Starlink entering to the market. So that's something we're seeing in terms of private LTE, 5G take-up. Wherever forces are in country or outside of country, they can get access to that network as well.
So you're offering secure bearers and things like that?
Yeah, secure bearers, and moving forward it'll be point-to-point capability as well. Currently it's Starlink, but then moving forward it'll be the likes of Amazon Kuiper and ultimately Telesat.
Yeah, there are a lot of networks now.
Yeah, there are, and one thing that Vocus does do is provides the teleport capability, so we run the ground infrastructure, fibre infrastructure for the LEO providers in country as well. So yeah, in fact, one of the things that we're embarking on at the moment is private LTE capability for Army, for areas like HADR requirements, so that's something where our Challenge Networks company comes in and provides that capability.
Okay, so we've moved over to Simon Lardner. So Simon, which part of Vocus are you with?
So I head up the wireless team, which is Vocus's now strategy of moving from the fibre network, as we have been discussing, to essentially, let's call it the last mile, or maybe the last 10 miles of that network, is how do you interconnect the fibre network into your end users.
So can you tell me a bit more about these wireless networks and how they differ from various security perspectives?
Yeah, well, we were actually one of the first companies in the world to develop private mobile networks, and I guess at one level they're exactly the same as a consumer network, but in another way they're actually completely different. It's a bit like Wi-Fi, is that if you imagine using Wi-Fi at the airport or whatever, you can do that, but straight away you go, that's a little bit scary. Whereas, conversely, if you're using Wi-Fi at home, assuming you've got all the appropriate encryption keys, that's actually a pretty secure sort of thing. And it's the same thing with these private networks, is that certainly you can use a consumer network and it has a reasonable level of security, but if you want to go to that next level of having something that actually is not only secure from a an encryption perspective, but also from a reliability perspective, that's when our networks come into play. And of course that fits in perfectly with essentially the use profile that you have for defence applications, and also things like critical infrastructure like mining and so on and so forth. So that's how they're sort of fundamentally the same and also fundamentally the difference.
Okay. Simon, thanks very much for explaining wireless networks and security.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having us.